Jungkook stock theft case. What laws entangle the perpetrator? The scandal of the stock theft worth billions of won belonging to Jungkook of BTS has shaken the international public. More than just an ordinary criminal act, this case drags cross-border legal dimensions, involves Interpol coordination, and raises a major question. How far will the grip of the law strike the perpetrator? And can justice truly be upheld amidst the complexity of global financial crime? The loss of more than 8.4 billion won, or equivalent to $6.2 million, makes this case not only tarnish the name of a major company, but also touch the reputation of a world-class public figure. The theft of shares from the portfolio of an international artist like Jungkook creates a ripple effect on the stability of South Korea's capital market and adds uncertainty for global investors. With the arrest of the perpetrator in Thailand through Interpol coordination, the legal dimensions involved have become even broader. The question is, what laws will entangle the perpetrator, and how severe are the punishments lurking behind this criminal act? From the perspective of South Korean law, this case clearly cannot be underestimated. HYBE's shares listed on the Korea Exchange make this theft fall into the category of serious financial crime. Based on the Korean Criminal Code, Article 329 defines theft as a grave offense with a threat of imprisonment. In addition, Article 347 regulates fraud, especially if carried out with digital engineering or system manipulation. Considering the scale of the losses incurred, the threat of punishment could range from 5 to 10 years in prison, coupled with heavy fines, as well as the obligation to return the losses to the victim. It does not stop there. Thailand's jurisdiction as the location of the perpetrator's arrest also brings its own legal implications. Thailand has the Computer Crime Act, which ensnares illegal access, data theft, and manipulation of electronic systems for financial gain. If proven to have committed criminal acts within Thailand's territory, the perpetrator could potentially face domestic punishment. However, the Extradition Act B 2551, 2008 opens the way for extradition to South Korea, especially if strong evidence shows that the largest loss befell a Korean company. Extradition negotiations are almost inevitable, given the magnitude of the lost assets and the international status of the victim. The involvement of Interpol emphasizes that this case has reached the level of cross-border crime. With the issuance of a red notice, the presence of the perpetrator in any country can immediately be responded to by local authorities. Furthermore, this case could fall within the framework of the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime (UNCTAD), an international treaty that binds member states to cooperate in eradicating cross-border crime. Within this framework, such crimes are not only seen as harming individuals, but also endangering the stability of international financial markets. Another aspect worth considering is the potential for money laundering. In modern financial crimes, stolen proceeds are rarely stored in their original form. Perpetrators usually attempt to move funds through overseas accounts, use fake identities, or exploit digital instruments such as cryptocurrency. In this context, South Korea's Anti-Money Laundering Act as well as Thailand's anti-money laundering laws could be directly applied. If proven, the perpetrator would not only face additional prison sentences, but also the confiscation of all assets obtained from the crime. The dimension of market manipulation cannot be ignored either. Considering HYBE's shares are one of the important instruments in South Korea's capital market, the theft of large quantities of shares has the potential to trigger instability in stock prices. Investors who see vulnerabilities may lose confidence, and this could spill over into the foreign investment climate in South Korea. Therefore, this act could also be ensnared under the Insider Trading and Fraudulent Securities Act, which increases the severity of the penalties. If all these legal entanglements are applied simultaneously, the consequences would be extremely severe. Under Korean criminal law, the prison threat could reach 10 years. Coupled with money laundering charges and international law, the sentence could rise up to 20 years in prison. In addition, civil lawsuits could allow HYBE or Jungkook to demand full compensation, which could lead to the perpetrator's total financial ruin. In other words, the escape route for the suspect is almost completely shut. This case raises an important reflection. In the digital era, cross-border financial crimes are increasingly difficult to control without international cooperation. The role of Interpol, extradition mechanisms, and UN conventions are vital instruments in ensuring perpetrators cannot hide behind territorial borders. Yet, the public also asks, are the existing punishments sufficient to provide a deterrent effect for billion-dollar cybercriminals? Another equally important question: how can we ensure that victims, including global public figures like Jungkook, truly receive recovery and justice? This case is not only a test for the legal systems of South Korea and Thailand, but also for international law that is required to adapt to the dynamics of digital financial crime. The Jungkook stock theft scandal ultimately is not merely a criminal story, but a stern warning that global financial security is always under threat, and the law must move faster than the criminals. Are the public truly witnessing an authentic financial crime, or merely a sensational narrative that was too quickly believed? Has the news of massive losses and cross-border arrests been supported by verifiable official documents? These questions deserve to be asked from the outset, because haste is the chief enemy of accuracy. Thank you. If you have any additions, please write them in the comments column. In every claim of stock theft belonging to a public figure, we are obliged to ask, where did the first information originate, and who has an interest in the narrative? Was the initial source an authoritative, auditable report, or a viral post cut out of context? If the foundation is still vague, is it not true that the conclusion is also fragile? Chronological consistency is the first test of credibility. Do the dates, loss amounts, arrest locations, and roles of international institutions match, or do they contradict each other? Has the public been left to cling to the first, most sensational version? If chronological weakness is ignored, is that not already a warning sign? Visual sources and digital documents need to be audited. Are the video clips from authentic press conferences, or from private channels without primary references? Can metadata, timestamps, and upload histories be traced, or are we satisfied with anonymous testimonials? Without layered verification, is not bias and fabrication a real possibility? Collective emotions often accelerate conclusions. Has the shock of involving a global artist disrupted the public's ability to delay judgment? Has sympathy for the victim and anger at the perpetrator driven clicks more strongly than the urge to wait for confirmation? If so, should not ethical caution be heightened? Stock price movements are often used as indicators of the seriousness of a case. But do fluctuations reflect evidence, or merely sentiment easily driven by rumor? Does dramatic publicity benefit short-term traders while retail investors bear the risk? If so, should not vigilance against perception manipulation be a necessity? From a legal standpoint, the presumption of innocence precedes sensation. Are the suspect's identity, motives, and modus supported by valid evidence, not mere narrative? Does the claim of international coordination have an authoritative basis, not just jargon projecting firmness? If cross-jurisdiction procedures have never been explained, is it proper for the public to decide before a court ruling? Digital forensics demands methodological rigor. Are there access logs, transaction records, and audit trails from brokerage systems or securities custodians? Are the experts examining them free of conflicts of interest and willing to disclose methods? Without replicable steps, are not technical claims merely slogans? We acknowledge that much of the current information comes from TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and other channels. But does the public realize that these platforms prioritize engagement, not verification? Do algorithms that trigger emotions amplify content provoking anger and sympathy, regardless of accuracy? Without reputation scoring and correction records, are we not perpetuating an ecosystem favoring sensationalism? Journalistic ethics demand proportionality. Are names, locations, and personal details mentioned with caution that protects victims while not condemning unproven parties? Do editorial teams correct misleading headlines when new information emerges, or leave them because it's already viral? If corrections are ignored, will not public trust erode? The motives behind content must be examined. Is the narrative built to improve public literacy, or to harvest traffic and advertising? Do audiences incentivize good practice by rewarding caution, or do they reward sensationalism with every impulsive click? If incentives are misguided, will not the quality of public information decline? A framework of critical thinking can be applied immediately. Have you gathered at least 2 independent, Mutually reinforcing sources? Have you delayed